Come here, Jose.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, the Committee on Parole is called to order. Today is Monday, May 20th, 2024. The time is 9:02 a.m. My name is Cheryl Renatza. We have a 5-member panel this morning. My colleagues with me on the panel, seated to my far left, Mr. Chuck Tillis. To my immediate left, Ms. Carolyn Stapleton. To my immediate right, Mr. Pete Freeman. And to my far right is Mr. Danny Barra. We are your panel today. We are seated at DOC headquarters in Baton Rouge. First, I'd like to have the staff here at headquarters. Please introduce yourself for the record.
Parole.
Freddie Sabbath.
Okay, and our first remote location is at Dixon Correctional Institute. Warden, would you introduce yourself and have your staff introduce themselves?
Yes, ma'am. Good morning, board. Dusty Bickham, warden.
Donald Cavalier, classification manager.
Dominique Perkins, classifications.
Jamie Duvall, mental health.
And that's it for now.
Okay, well, thanks for accommodating us this morning. I want to recognize some guests we have here in Baton Rouge with us. We have some law students with the Access to Justice Fellowship who are here from LSU and Southern University, who will be here observing our hearings this morning. Welcome. We're glad y'all are here. Our first case this morning is Mr. Camus. Good morning, Mr. Camus.
Good morning, ma'am.
Would you introduce yourself, sir? Tell us your name and DOC number.
Richie Camus, 351341.
Yes, sir, Mr. Camus. I'm going to read some information into the record and ask you to confirm that information. Then I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Tillis. Your case has been assigned this morning.
Freeman.
I'm sorry, Mr. Freeman. Thank you. He'll take the lead on the interview. I want to recognize that we do have Mr. Meyer here from the DA's office in Jefferson Parish. He's indicated he'd like to speak, and we'll call on him at the appropriate time to do so. All right. So, Mr. Camus, you're classified as a 4th felon offender. You're currently serving a 10-year sentence. You were sentenced in June of 2021 for theft, $500 or more, theft, $300 or less, aggravated flight from an officer and resisting police, and as a habitual offender, simple burglary of an inhabited. So as I said, your total sentence is 10 years. You have a parole eligibility date, which was November 12th, 2022, and your your good time mandatory release date is February 12th, 2029. Does all that sound correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you answer Mr. Frank, please?
Okay, Mr. Camus, how old are you?
49,
Okay, and how long have you been in jail on this charge?
almost 4 years.
Okay. What's your educational level?
6th grade.
Okay. Have you ever tried to get your GED since you've been incarcerated?
Yes, sir. I had a learning disability. They said
Okay.
I
Warden, you have something to add? I see you're looking at your
Oh,
notes.
I'm sorry, Mr. Frank. I was looking at some of the people coming in. No, sir, I'm good right now.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Camus, what was going on? What was your problem? Why all these crimes?
had a drug addiction, sir.
Do you still have a drug addiction?
No, sir. I'm working on it. I struggle with that every day,
Yeah,
but I'm doing good.
right. So you still have a addiction, you're just not youth.
Yes, sir. I'm not using.
What kind of programs have you taken for drugs?
I took trying to think of the name of that. Living in Balance.
Mhm.
I took Cage of Rage. Can't remember all of them right now. I'm nervous, sir.
A bunch of them, I can see that. You took a lot of classes. Which class do you think you got the most out of?
I would say Living in Balance because it hit a bunch of different areas.
Okay. Most of your charges, they're burglaries, but looks like all of them happen. You on supervision. What's the problem with supervision? Why you can't abide by the rules and regulations when you're on the streets?
So I was doing good and I'd hurt myself and I started taking medication and it triggered me back off to the drugs.
All right. You don't have any violent history on your record, but you almost could call when you resisted arrest violent. I mean, were you all messed up when you was running from the cops?
Yes, sir.
And you fought with the cops?
I ran from them and when they was putting the handcuffs on me, I was in shock, I guess.
Okay. I look at the recommendations. The sheriff is opposed. Vic Chancellor Incorporated is one of your victims. They're unopposed. Benton Gas is opposed. Troy Boudreaux, a victim, is opposed. Deputy Brent Bolderose is unopposed, but Sergeant Ty Revere is opposed. And I want to read Sergeant Revere's statement. Sergeant Revere feels Mr. Camus has not served enough of his sentence yet. He also feels that since he endangered the community by fleeing from law enforcement in a reckless manner, he should not be granted parole so soon. He drove recklessly through a school zone with no regard for the safety of others. So that was his statement. And your fam, where are you going to live if you get out?
2617 Dolores, Morero, Louisiana,
Who's that with?
with my son.
Okay, is he here today or he didn't come?
He didn't come, sir. My daughter was supposed to be on Zoom if she got it through.
How many children do you have?
I have 2, sir.
Do you get along with them? Do you talk to
Yes,
them?
sir.
What about your sobriety plan? What that's gonna be when you get out? How you gonna stay off of drugs? Because you got a bad problem.
I'm gonna look for some outside help. That's something that I'm gonna struggle. I guess I'm gonna struggle with for the rest of my life.
I see you went to Blue Walters, but that was way back in '98, it looks like. Do we have any detainers? I think I read something, but it was a local detainer, I believe.
On the master prison.
Okay. Warden, what do you have to say? What kind of community work does he do at the prison?
Good morning, board. Inside the structured environment of corrections, he does pretty good, and that's all I can speak to. He hadn't had any write-ups since he's been here. He is a good carpenter. You know, I gotta give him credit. He works at our training center as a trustee down there, and he does good carpenter work when we have things going on with the different, like Memorial Day and things like that. He does put forth effort with that, and I think he helps with the food bank too as well. But like I said, he does a good job inside this environment for sure.
Thank you, Warden. I have no further questions, Madam Chair.
I have a couple of questions, Mr. Camus. I noticed, you know, as we said, you're a fourth offender, and I noticed that you were released, your term expired in 1999, and you stayed free for almost 10 years, and you got a new conviction. You mentioned that you got hurt and you started using medication, medicating yourself, I guess. When did you get hurt?
When I was working climbing trees, I'd fell and I'd hurt myself and I got on pain medication. Oh, when that was, I don't remember exactly, ma'am, but I know
Just
that's
prior to this period of incarceration or some years ago?
from years ago.
Okay, so I see that. So then you were locked back up in 2010 for a new conviction, and I see you were in and out, or you had some medical treatment while you were in prison. But then you also released again in 2020 and came right back in 21. Why is that?
My drug addiction, ma'am.
So you continued, once you got the injury, then you continued through that self-medication.
I switched over to a harder drug from the pain medication would trigger me back off to the harder drug.
I understand. So you were self-medicated. How old were you when you first started using illegal drugs?
Probably 13.
What'd you start with?
Weed.
And then you just progressed on?
Yes, ma'am.
So when you had your accident, when you fell out of the tree, were you a substance abuser at that time, or you just had quit, or what?
I was drinking and stuff like that. No hard drugs. But
And as Mr. Freeman said, did you go to the Blue Walters program?
yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Just prior to that release in 1999. So what did you learn from that program?
I learned that I can't do it alone. And to be honest with you, I remember the serenity prayer.
So whenever you were out after you released in 1999, what did you do for your sobriety at that time? Was there any plan? Did you go to meetings? What did you do?
I worked and kept myself busy. I didn't see no meetings, ma'am.
Till you got hurt?
So I got hurt.
You started spiraling, okay. And you know the judge ordered you to pay restitution. It's a little over $10,000. You're aware of that?
Yes, ma'am.
How do you plan on doing that? I see, are you going to be working with
My son,
your son? I saw that. And what does he do?
landscaping, and he cuts trees also.
Okay. And, okay, I don't have any other questions. Any questions by my colleagues?
Good morning, sir. I just wanted to know, I know you said you kept busy last time, and I'm sure that was with working. So it sounds like in order to pay back the restitution, that's really going to be the process you'll have to do this time. So how will you find time to maybe attend meetings or things that you're going to need to do to stay clean from your drug addiction? Because that's going to be difficult.
I'm gonna have to find me a night meeting in the evenings when I get off of work, ma'am.
Do you feel like you can do that?
I'm always gonna need help, I feel like.
That's my only question.
Ms. Farrar?
Sir, back on the inmate classes, I see that you had 15 prior to this incarceration that you completed, and then 7 since this incarceration. Are you doing anything different in those classes, studying a little harder, or to make sure that those classes help you better than they did? Because the first 15 didn't seem to help you stay out of trouble. So I was wondering about the 7 and the ones you're doing now. Have you learned anything more?
It's basically, it's, I don't know, I'm nervous. I'm gonna need help. So like I'm said before, I can't do it alone.
And then I see on your risk assessment, you were arrested as a juvenile when you were 13 years old. What kind of crime was that? Can you tell me something about that 13-year-old or age arrest?
A stolen truck.
Stolen truck. And how did that resolve you? What did you get for it? Punishment.
I was incarcerated. Well, went to detention center, a hospital in New Orleans, NOAA. It's a substance abuse treatment center next to Children's Hospital.
And we're there.
And then from there, I went to LTI.
Right. And then I see you were arrested 12 times. That included 39 crimes, 10 crimes against a person, and you're now a 4th felony offender. That's a pretty healthy criminal record. Tell us why we should think that you're done with that life now and we should let you go. That's a lot of criminal record over 13 years old till now. Tell us why you think it's going to be different this time.
So, I'm nervous.
Take your time.
Y'all probably hear this a lot. I'm just tired, older, and I want to spend time with my family and kids. And I'd like to apologize to society and my family for putting them through all this. I don't know how to answer the question, so.
Then I see you had 5 prior terms of supervision, and 3 of those 5 got revoked. You had a problem with the probation officers, or what was your problem with?
No, sir. The drugs was my problem.
The drug? All right, that's the only questions I had.
All right, Mr. Myers, could we hear from you, sir?
Good morning, Randy Myers, Assistant DA, Jefferson Parish. We're opposed at this time to Mr. Camus's request for parole. Looking back at, if we look back at the commitment when the judge sentenced him, he recommended that he attend the Steve Hoyle program and other self-help programs. And he hadn't done that. And I think it's pretty clear in Mr. Camus's responses that he needs a long-term substance abuse program in order to help him when he eventually does get out. I think it's also pretty clear based on his, he said he finished the 6th grade and has some disabilities which prevent him from getting his GED. I think some vocational programming would help him because, I think the drugs are a problem and theft could be related as well to the inability to get a job. And so I think vocational programming would be beneficial to him to help him when he does eventually get out to be able to maybe get a job and support himself instead of stealing from others. He's only served 4 of the 10 years that he was sentenced to. He's poor supervision record and, a pretty extensive criminal record. And he has a high risk assessment, which is something that I rarely see. So I think for all those reasons, he should be denied today, and he should, try to get some more help via vocational programs and maybe the Steve Hall program.
Sorry. Mr. Camus, is there anything you'd like to say to us before we vote?
No, ma'am.
All right, I think we're prepared to vote. Mr. Freeman?
Yeah, Mr. Camus, first off, I want to congratulate you on your discipline record. That's very good. No write-ups in 4 years. But it's kind of like Mr. Myers said, you've only done 4 out of 10, and we need a Steve Hall program. I don't think you could beat drugs went on the street right now. There's just no way in my mind. You need more help. Got so my vote today is to be to revoke, and would be to deny and to to look into getting into the Steve Harper.
Great, thank you. Mr. Tillis,
I concur.
Mrs. Stapleton,
I concur also.
Mr. Bara,
I concur.
Mr. Camus, I do agree. I think that your age has something to do with your thought that you're ready. And I'm so proud to hear you say you acknowledge that you know you're going to help and you can't do it by yourself. My vote today is the same as my colleagues, but we're going to make a strong recommendation that you be afforded the opportunity for the Steve Oil. It's an intensive substance abuse treatment program. And once you do that, hopefully you can get some vocational skills training, although Warden Bickham says you're a pretty good carpenter. Right back once you finish that program, and hopefully the next time you'll have a different outcome. Good luck.
All right,
Yeah.
thank you, ma'am.
Thank
I want you to sit on the front row and learn well you can. Good luck.
All right, thank you, boy.
All right.
Hey, don't leave.
Would you please mute Mr. Cavalier?
All right, good morning. Mr. Thompson, you introduce yourself, tell us your name and DOC number, please.
Yes, ma'am. My name is Keith Thompson. My DOC is 109223.
All right, Mr. Thompson, let me introduce the five-member parole panel to you this morning. My name is Cheryl Renatza. Seated to my far left is Mr. Chucky Tillis. To my immediate left, Ms. Carolyn Stapleton. To my immediate right, Mr. Pete Freeman, and to his right is Mr. Danny Byra. So we are a five-member panel this morning. And let me acknowledge some of the folks that are here today in support. We have Mr. Andrew Hundley with the Parole Project, your niece, Tamara Whitlock, who is joined us and wants to speak on your behalf. Also, you are represented by counsel this morning. Counsel, would you introduce yourself for the record?
Good morning. My name is Sarah O'Brien. I'm an attorney for Keith Thompson.
Thank you. Also, we have some students from the Southern University Law School and LSU Law School who are observing today. First, I'll read some identifying information into the record, after which I'll ask you to confirm that information. Then I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Tillis. Your case has been assigned to him. He's going to take the lead on the parole interview. Then we'll hear from your supporters and the warden. And before we ask your lawyer to close it out for us, we'll ask you if there's a statement you'd like to make.
Yes,
Okay?
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Thompson, you are classified as a third felony offender. You're currently serving a sentence that is 199 years. You were sentenced initially in August of 1987 for armed robbery, and were also habitually billed on robbery. In May of 2019, you were sentenced to 1 year for battery of a correctional officer. Your parole eligibility date was determined to be October 16, 2006. Your good time date is December in 2089. Is that information correct?
Yes, ma'am, all except the fact that I originally was sentenced in, on May the 4th of 1985. I had got resentenced in 87.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
yeah, thanks for clarifying. I appreciate it. Would you answer Mr. Tiller's questions, please?
yes, ma'am.
Hey, Mr. Thomas, how are you?
I'm fine, sir, thank you.
I read through your case. I read through it several times, and I noticed you took a lot of classes. You remember how many you took
5.
since you've been at DCI?
No, I took 2 at DCI. 3 at Angola.
How long have you been incarcerated?
November 13th of this year will be 40 years.
Okay, and you're originally from Jackson, Mississippi?
Yes, sir.
You know, I read where you got a job in New Orleans.
Right.
And how long did you work there?
About a month and a half. So.
I see. What about, I saw where you had a problem with your landlord. What happened with you?
It wasn't a problem with the landlord, it was the fact that I had lost my job and I was worried about having somewhere to live, and I just, just became reactionary, and that's what led to me committing this crime that I'm incarcerated.
I see. How far did you go in school?
I quit in the 10th grade and I went to reform school. I passed to the 11th grade reform school. I got out. I quit again in 11th grade. And, I got locked up. And while I was in jail, I got my GED. And then they sent me to prison when I was 16. And when I was there, I got some college credits and some VOTEC credits.
Good. I see that you probably have kind of been a problem since you've been there. I mean, you've been in a few fights, disobedient.
That's an understatement, man. I had a lot of problems, serious problems, mentally, emotionally, psychologically,
I see. And I was thinking about it as I read your case. It seems like what you really need to do is probably adjust and follow the orders and supervision that you have. You've had anger management.
Yes, sir. Took me a while to understand it. Took the incident when I got the barrier on the officer charge for me to understand, or what clues and triggers really meant. I finally figured out, I realized how close I came and really throwing away everything I've been trying to accomplish.
I see. Okay, I have no more questions.
Okay, good morning, sir.
Good morning, man.
I've got a few questions. So the battery on the officer there, you threw a wheelchair at the officer, is that correct? Is that what happened?
Yes, ma'am.
Was-
And it really wasn't really about him. I've been knowing Mr. Bernard since he was a cadet. I watched him come up in the ranks all the way to when I left Angola, he was Lieutenant Colonel. And he really just trying to do his job. It was another officer that was like harassing me and, trying to get me sent back to the blocks at the time when I was just kind of getting it together. And, I just let my frustration out of that, when Mr. Bernard, when he sprayed mace, to try to, force the rules, basically, I just kind of flashed, and did what I was did so many times in the past, and I took responsibility for it and I apologized, Mr. Bernard. We shook hands on it, and I said I never had a problem with him, but that was about.
Well, let me take you all the way back to 1984, where there was an armed robbery.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, and it was a benevolent society, Horsemen's Association, yes.
Okay.
So you had some victims there and you made them lay on the floor and you had a gun. It was an armed robbery, am I correct?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm gonna get you from that point to tell me what happened.
Well, I didn't know what kind of building it was when I went in the building. My own intention was, my selfish motive to get some money, so that I could pay my rent, and just do what I was doing. But I just went in the building. I asked the lady for permission to use the restroom. I really just wanted to look around and see who was in the building, that type of stuff, I feel like, females, they less likely to put up any type of resistance,
Right.
So when the lady let me want to use the bathroom, when I came out, that's when I saw it was a lot of females. I decided I was gonna try to commit a robbery. And I didn't know that one of the ladies in there had a pistol inside the place. What was a starter pistol. It wasn't even a real pistol. And there was a fifth lady was in there it was, matter of fact, it was Miss Delarette's daughter. I found out, through trial testimony, she had went out the window and she called the police, and as I was trying to take the ladies upstairs, before I leave, so they wouldn't see which way I went, the police came on the scene. Police came on the scene, he pointed a gun at me, he told me to freeze, and I had one of the ladies in front of me, she broke and ran, and I don't know, according to the officer, I fired at him, but, for mine, what I seen is there was a reaction when he shot, I got shot in the hand. And it was reflex reaction. The pistol that I used, it was a lady pistol. Wasn't even conscious of it. I had that one I got the one that she had because she had it on the floor in the office when I kicked the door down and went in the office. She had locked herself in the office. And I had got her pistol, and it kind of shook me up a little bit because, she had a real pistol. So I had that pistol in my hand. That was the pistol that I had in my hand when the police fired and the gun went off, But that was, yes, ma'am.
See, from a victim's point of view, that was a very violent offense in their life. I mean, you kicked the door down. I guess you made them you held a gun on them as far as they knew it was real and that they were going to get shot, and shots were fired.
Yes, ma'am.
So on behalf of the ladies, you can see if I had been one of them or somebody you love, you can understand how that would maybe carry over their whole entire life, that it would be a fearful incident in their life. I just to hear from the victim's point of view what that may do with them, that may be an isolated incident to you and be over with once you're arrested, but for a victim, it continues on. So I don't have any further questions.
If I may, I when I was taking the victim impact class, I learned a lot. And at the end of the class, we wrote letters of apologies, and I may not never get another chance, and I like it if I may read the letter that I wrote to these ladies, trying to express, just how I understand what my actions are.
Please, did you know that 2 of them have passed away?
Ma'am, no, I didn't. I'm sorry to hear
Yeah, but then I think that leaves a remaining of at least 2 victims.
Yeah, but if I may, I'd like to read the letter.
Well, you do that when you close out. When you close it, we're going to go continue with our interview. Mr. Barr, I have some questions.
Okay.
Yes, sir. The record shows that you were on supervision for armed robbery, 2 counts from Jackson, Mississippi, when you committed this armed robbery. Can you please tell me the details of that case? What had you done in Jackson?
No, I wasn't on any type of supervision when I got out. I just got re-sentenced and released. I wasn't on parole. I wasn't on parole supervision, nothing. I got 6 years and 1 month re-sentenced, and I was out. And I couldn't, I tried to find a job. I couldn't find a job in Mississippi, so I came to Louisiana. My mother had, my uncle, he was like a skip on an oyster boat. And, I was gonna go work with him for a while. First thing I did, I completed my Pell Grant to try to keep going to school. And, I was gonna go work with my uncle until it was time to start the next semester and then, and try to get me my own little place and stuff like that. And, that's why I ended up coming to Louisiana. But, I wasn't on any type of, supervision whatsoever.
So you're telling me in 1980, you wasn't arrested for 2 counts of armed robbery where you got 25 years DOC with 15 years suspended?
No, sir. No,
Got
sir.
you.
I got arrested in 1977, 78 rather, on 2 counts of armed robbery. I was 16 years old and I got tried as an adult, and I got sent to prison like 2 months before my 18th birthday. And I stayed in Parson prison for 6 years and 1 month. I went back and I got re-sentenced, they took back my original guilty plea. I got re-sentenced to 6 years and 1 month. And I got released, time served.
All right, so that's where I don't have the end of the sentence. I just have the beginning of it. But my question was, in that armed robbery, how did you do that? What was that? It was the same thing about money?
Same crime. And that's why I know it's a God. It was the exact same crime, exact same kind of building. I knew what the first building was. I knew that was an insurance company because they had a sign showing you what the building was. But this one here, it didn't have any type of identification sign what the building was. But it was the exact same thing. It was an insurance company.
All right. One more question.
Yes, sir.
When they arrested you for this offense in Louisiana, for the armed robbery in Louisiana, the New Orleans Police Department also executed a warrant for Jackson, Mississippi, for rape and illegal flight to avoid prosecution. Can you tell me about those charges?
I have no idea to this day. Ever since I've been locked up, I've been trying to get them to bring me to Jackson, Mississippi. Tell me what the charge was about. I wasn't even in Jackson when the charge was made against me. I was in Louisiana. And I filed a lawsuit in federal court. I got a copy right here trying to make them bring me to Jackson, Mississippi. To tell me what the charge was about. And I was for years, the people at Angola, they contacted, when I first got there, they contacted Jackson, Mississippi and asked them, did they have a detainer on me? And they told them that I wasn't wanted for nothing in Jackson, Mississippi. But those charges are also on my FBI rap sheet.
Yeah.
And to this
So
day,
that's going to be something you're going to need to figure out before you can actually get out, because there's going to be a hold on you if they still want you.
to this day, I never had a detainer placed on me by Jackson, Mississippi. I've been
You don't know what they talking about when they say they had a warrant for you for a rape charge and flight to avoid prosecution. You don't know nothing about those?
no idea whatsoever about it.
All right, that's the only questions I have.
Okay, I have a couple. Mr. Thompson, so you said you've been in jail about, what, 40 years? Almost 40.
November 13th will be 40 years.
How much of that 40 years would you say you spent in a cell block?
Vast majority of it.
Yeah, and you've been at DCI since April of, when, 2020?
May the 3rd, 2022.
So 2 years.
Yes, ma'am.
So I asked those questions because your conduct record really is concerning for me. As Mr. Tillis alluded to, you had a really hard time really until you got to DCI. I show where you lost 2,280 days of good time. When did you learn you were parole eligible?
When 2045 first took effect in the 90s.
Okay, so all that time where you were doing all this cutting up, you knew you would have the opportunity for parole, but that didn't matter to you?
It mattered very much to me, but I had to try to, relearn, how you know, to live, basically, I mean, I always, was like by me being in prison early in life, and, you get in prison, and, you get around a lot of malcontent people and they give you a lot of, bad advice, and
Understand. I get that. We generally are not surprised when we see early in someone who has a long prison term, early on, they have a real period of institutional adjustment. It's hard. Many get a lot of write-ups, but I looked back even over just the last 10 years.
Mhm.
And so by this time you've been locked up 30 years. In the last 10 years, by my count, you got 128 write-ups.
Mhm.
And of those 128 write-ups, 60 were number 21s, which is concerning. You also have 45, which were either defiance and or aggravated disobedience, and 10 were for contraband. Since you've been at DCI, as we've said, about 2 years, I think you've only gotten 4. Is that right?
I haven't had a write-up since I've been in DCI.
Had write-ups at DCI. So that's really encouraging to me. You needed to change of scenery, didn't you?
Well, really, my last write-up actually was April the 25th of 2021 before I came to DCI. Yes, the change of scenery was good for me, and like it was like being able to hit reset for me because came here, people at DCI, they showed me on top that they let you define who you are, and yes, ma'am.
So who are you? What is your job there at DCI?
I work in the chemical room in the property room or in the cell block.
What do you do?
I mix chemicals and I pass out supplies, monthly supplies, to various locations on Compound 5.
So why do you think your conduct has improved so much? Tell us why you think that happened.
For years I struggled, I always knew that I had to get myself together, but change is hard. It's hard for you, to admit that, you've been living a lie all your life, and so, I've been struggling trying to change, I feel I got up, but it's just basically, that I knew I had to change.
They freeze. Screen froze. Oh, there you go. You froze up just for a minute. Let me just, before we move on and hear from your supporters, let me just let you know that there is, of course, some opposition to any consideration for early release. The West Feliciana District Attorney's Office, law enforcement in West Feliciana. There was no comment from the folks in New Orleans, either the prosecutors or law enforcement, except that the police chief in New Orleans is opposed because of the violent nature of your offenses. We're going to hear from your supporters. First, we'd like to hear from Mr. Hunley.
Andrew Hunley with Louisiana Parole Project, appearing today to let the board know that Keith Thompson reached out to us a while back and asked us for support. Obviously, we did the same records you've looked at and saw significant, criminal history and significant disciplinary issues while incarcerated. However, we noticed that the last couple of years, especially since his transfer to Dixon, that he had what he called a reset. And after several meetings with him, I can tell you that we are of the opinion that he's an extremely honest and forthcoming person, significantly in a way a lot of people don't, took responsibility in a way that, in our opinion, showed that he's made a turn and he's very cognizant of what's caused him so much trouble and what's brought him to the point where he's because of the amount of time that he served, 40 years, and his age today, we want to offer our support to him because we do think that he has made a turning point. In our line of work, there is a sweet spot. 5 years from now, he may not be able to work. He may not is that he has today. So if he is granted parole, our organization commits providing him long-term support, which includes housing, which includes employment assistance, which includes mental health and substance abuse assistance and peer mentoring. As this honorable board's aware, we've worked with quite a few long-termers like Mr. Thompson and helped them with their transition. But also want to add that in conversations with Mr. Thompson, he actually volunteered and requested if he could be sent to Steve Hoyle to do at least 9 months of programming at Steve Hoyle before his potential release. I know that wasn't, but what we were here to say is we understand if he would be granted to Steve Hoyle, he may be there for such a long period of time that it would require him going back before the board for an additional hearing. If he successfully completed that program, we think that would be more time and a show that he has he can roll with the changes. He transitioned successfully on the right path, and our organization would still be willing to provide him transitional support. I stand by for any questions you may have about his reentry plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Warden, I'm sorry, is there anything you can add?
Yeah, no, man. Good morning, Mr. Knotts. I'm gonna tell you, you have covered it, and actually Mr. Huntley covered it well, and see the same things I do. Since it's been at DCI, he's really done well and had no write-ups and stuff, but he has a significant history, and I'm not sure what clicked in 22 or 21, but y'all pretty much hit everything on the head so far.
Thank you. So, Ms. Whitlock, would you like to tell us what you'd like us to know?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I don't know where to start, but let me say this. I feel like my uncle has made a huge change. Well, back in 1991, my father was killed by a young man named Patrick, and he was sentenced to go to life in Angola. My uncle was housed with the same guy that killed his brother. And for him to live by this guy and forgive him, it said a lot about his character. Now, I know my uncle has had a lot of write-ups, but I feel like it was because he was a product of his environment. And we talk on a regular basis. We talk every week, sometimes 3 times a week, maybe 4. And I have seen a dramatic change in him myself. Now, I can say that, now, if this had been maybe 20 years ago, I'd probably been like, I don't know if he should make parole. But as of now, I feel like he does deserve a chance. And to add to that, the guy that killed my father, Patrick, my uncle also wrote a letter saying that he would do anything he could do to help the guy that killed my father make parole. And like I said again, that speaks a lot about his character.
Ma'am, thank you so much. We appreciate you speaking with us this morning.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Thompson, before we turn it over to your attorney, is there anything you'd like to say to us?
I like, I always like to tell people that I live my life basically 5 stages. I was, young and confused. I went from young, confused to, just young and confused. I went, just immature to an immature stage and easily impressed and impressionable, I went from being impressionable to a young adult and angry and resentful. I went from being young and resentful to old and bitter and foolish, and finally, like a few years ago, I kind of had like my eureka moment, and it just all clicked. Everything finally clicked for me. I finally understood, what it was all about. What I've been trying to do for all my life, trying to figure out what life is about, and it just clicked. And I think, but the most important thing probably was that I realized one time when I was like, I was saying one day I thought, I said, like ever since I was about 11 years old, I've been using some type of drug, some glue, some paint, some pills, some beer, something, and I don't even know what it feels like to be drug free. So I said, I tried everything else. I'm gonna try this, and I tried it, and that was it. I mean, I finally realized, that, I don't need all those was crutches, those just crutches, and reason for you not to do what you need to do. You can't think clear. That's the bottom line. You can't think clear. And I was on drugs the day I committed this crime. I mean, but basically, that's when everything really clicked for me when I did that about 3 years ago. And I haven't looked back since.
Oh, that's good to hear. Good to hear. So Brian?
Yes, good morning. Sarah O'Brien. I'm the attorney for Mr. Thompson, and I've been representing Mr. Thompson for over 2 years, almost 3 years now. As he mentioned, and I believe y'all have a copy of the letter that he wrote. I have talked to him a lot about that, and I think what really stuck out for me about Mr. Thompson is his like a really deep understanding, I think, of what his remorse really means. He took a compassion class that was sort of related to a victim awareness, and there was a crime victim who actually instructed that class, and talking with her and seeing her taking her time to try and speak to prisoners, some of whom had committed violent acts, and explain to them how that affected her. That really, really affected him. She recommended a book to him that he read that I think really changed his life. And so I really he credits that class and that woman with really helping him see the damage that he had caused. And that was what we spoke about when I first met him, and is why I'm, here with him today, so many years later. He is also very dedicated to his reentry structure. Obviously, it was him who said, I think, if I am going to get out of here after 40 years, I want to make sure we do it right. Is there a, drug programming in prison sort of as a step down that I can do to prove that I'm ready for this? Can I reach out to the Louisiana Parole Project and see if they can provide further assistance? So that was, he wants that treatment, and that was him asking for that, which really impressed me as well. And then finally, I think, Mr. Thompson was a very accomplished athlete as a child. And I think, he continues to be able to work. And I think that he is excited about the possibility of being able to get out a year from now and actually still contribute to a society that he never really contributed to positively before now. He does also help other inmates in the prison, sort of explaining to them how he thinks that fitness can help with mental health, especially in prison, which I think is definitely true and also impressed me. And that's about it. Thank you for your consideration.
Well, thank you very much. All right, I think, is panel prepared to vote? Mr. Tillis?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Tillis will be voting first.
Mr. Thompson, I'm really pleased that since I listened to you, that you seem to be on the right track. It seemed like early on you had a lot of anger. And it seems like you're at a point where you're changing, and that's good. And I hope you continue it. But at this time, I'm going to have to deny.
Stapleton.
Mr. Thompson, I agree with my colleague. I think we're all impressed with the fact that now you, like you said, you feel like you've hit reset, and I think your conduct has shown that. So, I like the idea that you would like to attend Steve Soil because you feel like it will help you transition once you move out. I also like the fact that you have the compassion class. And when I brought up victims, you've already written victim accountability letters. So that's something that they can check into and hear your words together. I agree, you need more time, but you need more time on the path you've already taken. So my vote today is to deny, but wish you good luck to continue on this path.
Right.
I concur.
Mr. Byron.
Today, I vote to deny based on criminal history, multiple armed robberies in Louisiana and Mississippi, and victim and strong law enforcement opposition. However, I too am impressed with your changes that you got going on since 2021. And I think if you keep on your current path and reapply again, it'll be worth you doing it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, Mr. Thompson, I'm going to be the outlaw. I agree with what Mr. Hundley said, where there's a little, right now, if you were given the opportunity, you still have time maybe to make a living wage. You reached out to the Parole Project. You expressed the interest in the long-term substance abuse program, which I think you need. And your record has shown that, you know, you have the desire to do well. So my vote today would be to grant, after completing long-term Steve Quayle's substance abuse program, and into a long-term transition plan with the Parole Project. So that would be my vote. Now, you know, obviously you require a unanimous vote. So I want to give you a little bit of encouragement, as my colleagues have, to continue on the path you're on. Seek any substance abuse training if they have any available to you there at DCI. And reapply when you're eligible to do so. Let us see that you can remain right up free going forward. Good luck to you, sir. I enjoyed talking to you today. Thanks for being so honest with us.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for consideration.
Yes, sir. Warden, that concludes our business at DCI. Thanks for accommodating us today. We're going to sign out at 10:04.
Yes, ma'am. Have a blessed day.
Hey, boy.
All right, good morning. The Committee on Parole is reconvening. We are at Elaine Hunt Correctional Center. It is Monday, May 20th, 2024. Good morning, Warden. Would you introduce yourself for the record and then ask your staff to do also?
Good morning, Warden Donnie Bordelon. Joe Buttress, Assistant Warden.
All right. Well, thank you very much. And we have before us, Mr. Wells. Good morning.
Ma'am, how you doing?
I'm good. Sir, would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number.
My name is Marlon Wells. My DOC number is 422-993.
All right, Mr. Wells, let me introduce the parole panel. Today, we are a 5-member parole panel. My name is Cheryl Vernazza. Seated to my far left is Mr. Chucky Tillis. To my immediate left, Ms. Carolyn Stapleton. Mr. Freeman is to my immediate right, and to his right is Mr. Byron. Let me recognize some guests who have joined us today. We have your mother, Miss Lula Newby, Mr. John Wells, your brother. We also have Mr. Walter Wells, your uncle, who wants to speak on your behalf. He's there with you, I believe. And Marlon Johnson, who's also there with you, wants to speak on your behalf. And I'm sorry, Mr. Wells is there with you as well.
Yes.
So the appropriate time, call on your sister and your uncle to tell us what they'd like us to know. First, I'm going to read some identifying information into the record, ask you to verify that information. Then I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Byron. Your case has been assigned to him. He'll take the lead on the interview. Are you ready? All right. Mr. Wells, you are classified as a 4th felony. You're currently serving a 42-year sentence. You were, initially a sentence, May of 2011, possession with intent to distribute Xanax, unauthorized use of an access card, simple escape type 1, transaction. Let's see. And then in May of 2013, simple criminal damage to property. In August of 2014, simple escape type 1, battery of a correctional officer as a habitual offender, and also as a habitual offender, possession of cocaine. So all those various sentences result in a total of 42-year sentence. Your parole eligibility date was December 25th, 2019, and your mandatory good time release date is June 14, 2039. Does all that sound right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right, would you answer Mr. Byron's questions, please?
Yes. I see that you got an extensive history of inmate classes, very, very good on that. And since your last hearing, you've completed Thinking for Change, Victim Awareness, Victim Impact, Listen and Learn, Crime Victim Rights, Victim Accountability Letters, and a mock parole hearing course. Good work on that. However, you have a long criminal history that includes lots of property crimes, 2 simple escapes, and a battery on correctional officer. Please tell me, with a history of 29 arrests, why it would be a good idea to release you back into supervision now.
I'm not the same person. I have learned to live and work my standards. I practice good communication skills, being a leader, promoting fairness, and motivating young men to doing the right things. I'm not the same person. I know if I commit another crime or reoffend, I die in jail. No parole, no good time. I guarantee you I'll never commit another crime or reoffend in no kind of way.
That's why you think we should let you go now?
I mean,
Anything else?
sir?
I just wondering if there's anything else. That's good. All right. So about the correctional officer and the substance you threw in his eyes. What did you throw in his eyes exactly?
It was water. It was in a eardrop bottle, water thing I sprayed. Can I read his statement that he wrote?
That the officer wrote?
Yes.
Yeah.
Huh?
I'm sure they have.
They have this, from the DA file?
Still opposed.
Huh?
I said, he's currently still opposed.
Can I, read what he, wrote? Oh, I mean, it's a statement.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
It say on August 15, 2011, Deputy Brackton would transport 6 inmates to the courthouse for court upon arrival. Deputy Brackton drove his vehicle, or his unit, 2633 into the courthouse at the Southport. While inmates were exiting, unit 2633, inmate Marlon Wells was the last to exit. While exiting, Maron Wells squirted an unknown substance in Deputy Brackton's mouth and left eye and exiting the Sally Port under the court by the courthouse. Deputy Brackton chased inmate Wells out of the Sally Port across Columbia Street behind the cemetery and evaded. Deputy Brackton running into the woods behind some wood into some woods on Lee Lane. I actually, I would get off the van and I had the bottle in my hand and I squirted it.
Question, I hate to interrupt you, but my original question is, what is it that you put in his eyes? What did you have to put in his eyes to incapacitate him?
It wasn't nothing but some water. I mean, they might have some air stuff still in the little bottle, but I mean, I didn't put nothing in the water other than I put the water inside the. I mean, it was inside of an ear thing. But so they say it was some pepper-like stuff, but I never put nothing in it.
So you say just water? You just threw water in his eyes?
It was water inside of a. I don't know if it still had the ear stuff still in there, but it wasn't nothing like I put nothing substance nothing inside.
No pepper, no, you didn't put pepper in it? Okay.
I spoke with Mr. Braxton a couple of times back in court down there, and I explained to him that this originally was a plea deal. I went to court and they gave me 28 years. But I agreed to plead 28 years. And then when I went to court, and I asked my attorney, was it flat? Or whether I was getting good time or was it flat? He told me that it wasn't flat. I went back to the jailhouse and I wrote for the minutes. And when I wrote for the minutes, it came back that it was without the benefit of probation, parole, suspension of sentence, that it was flat. So that's when I lost it. I mean, I ended up breaking the water sprinkler and I committed a battery on Mr. Braxton with the exemplary escape. But my intention was not to. Then the bad part is they sent me to Angola, threw me in a cell, and then I filed for an appeal. When I filed for an appeal to try to get off the plea bargain, waiting to go to trial on the battery charge, the court ruled that my sentence was illegal, right? And they sent me back saying my sentence was illegal, they couldn't restrict parole. So now I did all that for nothing because that's all I was trying. I thought my attorney had lied to me. And then when I made it to the courthouse and I saw Mr. Brack, I stayed there for like 2 months. I saw him and I talked to him. And I mean, at first he didn't want to talk to me. Then he finally started to come around, he started talking to me and saying that he understood, and I apologized to him about what I did because all I wanted was the good time and the parole, and I thought my attorney had lied to me. And to come to find out, even though the judge sentenced me without that, it was illegal and I still got it. So it was a bad choice that I made.
I got you. All right. Well, just for the record, the officer still is opposed to early release for you, as well as the sheriff of St. Tammany Parish where you broke the sprinklers in the jail. He's still opposed to. So that's all the questions I had. Anybody else have?
You appeared for parole in 21. Is that when last time you was up?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you have taken classes since that hearing, correct?
Yes, sir.
How long total have you been in?
15 years.
And what was your total sentence?
42 years. My sentence was 28 years, but I come to Barry Joe, they multiplied it twice and they made it to 42. Yes, to 42.
Thank you.
All right, Warden, anything you can add for us?
I guess Mr. Renata, you know, he's had a long history of arrests and stuff and, disciplinary reports, I realized, he had kind of turned himself around 2018. No disciplinary reports since then. And, you know, like, y'all mentioned, has completed a lot of classes. He works as a barber and he is a trustee. He hasn't been any problems here. There's a lot of family support with him here today.
Good, thank you. Thank you, sir. All right, so let's hear from that family support. Could we hear first from Mr. Wells?
Yes, how you doing today, man?
Good. Tell us what you'd like us to.
Well, I would like to say to the rest of the panel, how you guys are doing. And I hope your families are being blessed, and I hope everything's going well. I'm here on behalf of Marlon Wells is because I'm his uncle, you know, and we've been anticipating him coming home. Like on his first parole hearing, we thought that he would be released, but then we come to find out that they gave him some extended time that we, as a family, didn't know about. We heard about it during this process of being in that court procedure. I own a janitorial company, all the time janitorial. And I've been in that business for at least 15 years. And I know I had talked to man, and I asked him, you know, if he was being released. This is during the first time that they was brought him up for parole. That if they release him, you know, he could come and work for me, you know, and I would make sure if he didn't have a place of residence, because I own rental property too, if he needed a place of residence, I would have a place for him to stay. Also, give him a full-time job in my company, you know, and I mean, I really want him to come home. I want him, and it's not up to me, it's up to you guys. But me personally, I want him to come home so he can start a brand new life. Me visiting him, I know I could see a change. I could see from when he was first incarcerated up until this point, I could see a definite change in him today. So, I mean, and I would do all I can to help him out, help him to come back into this society to be a productive young man.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate your remarks, Mr. Wells. Ms. Johnson?
Yes, ma'am. Hello, how are y'all doing?
Good, thank you.
I'm speaking on behalf of my brother, Marlon. We have been traveling this road for 15 years to see him while he's been incarcerated. And as long as he's been incarcerated, we have seen a change in him, and everything, and he has missed out a lot. His oldest son was in a tragic car accident where he's now paralyzed from the waist down. He's been staying with me and my mom since the accident. And I can speak for myself along with my family. We are here to support Marlon. We know the decision and everything is in your hands. We will make sure that he would be on the straight, narrow road, and everything. We'll make sure that he does everything by the books. and he has been very supportive. He have the support from the family. He do have a daughter. She couldn't be here right now to speak on his behalf, but I would like to speak for her that, you know, it is hard. It's hard on the family. Nobody's perfect. We all have made mistakes somewhere in our life, and I do feel that Marlon regrets the decision that he made in his early life. Being incarcerated, it does take a toll not only on him, because that's a decision that he made, but it does take a toll on the family as a whole. Because no one, and I would say it again, no one wants to see their loved one behind bars, and everything. So that's my speak that I'm speaking on behalf of him.
Thank you. We appreciate your remarks. All right, so Mr. Wells, it's is there a statement you'd like to make to us?
Can you want?
And somebody else? I'm sorry.
But I think, yes, I will. My name is John Wells.
Okay.
I'm Martin's brother. I'm speaking on behalf of the day. How y'all doing this morning? And I thank y'all for giving me this opportunity. I would like to say that I thank y'all because y'all gave me the opportunity. Because y'all made my parole back in 2015. And I've been home for almost 10 years now. And since I've been home, I became a productive citizen of Louisiana. And I'm a member of the church. And I know that my brother can do the same thing. See, we wasn't given the opportunity like a lot of young men. We didn't have a father figure, a male role model in our life. So we come from the era where we make the wrong decision. And I know that me personally, I'll be the one that will guarantee my life that he stays on the right path. He can work with me. We have already got things set to where he can do his own barber school, his own place where he can do barber. He can be a barber, be a licensed barber, and help to become a productive member of society. Become a member of the church like I am. So we're trying to set up a thing called Reach One, Teach One. That's what the young men in our church community, that if they see where we come from, learn from our behavior, they won't go on the same road. And the only way they can do that is that we're trying to set up a flag team, football team, and a basketball for the community, for the younger generation. And we go from anywhere from 10 to 9, I say 10 to 99. Those that want to seek the help. But they got to be, the only way they can be on the team through the Bible, they got to learn Bible verses. So I just think, I just pray that I ask y'all that, you know, y'all will just, as y'all have given me the opportunity, give him the same opportunity to come on, not just for his behalf, but for his children. Because his children need a father. Even though they're grown now, they still need that role, that male role model in their life. Because no man can be around a person's child and be a father to their child with their man, but their own father. And I know that his kids miss them dearly. And I just pray that, you know, again, that y'all, the same way y'all grant me the opportunity, and I appreciate that. And I pray y'all do the same thing to my brother. And I would like to apologize to the state of Louisiana, to the St. Tammany Parish, to even the parole board, the DOT, for all the choices that we have made as young men that scared down this path. But if y'all just grant me the opportunity, I pray, and I sincerely believe in my heart that he will do the right thing, and I will be there every step of the way to help him. But if I can do it for 10 years, he can do it. Thank y'all for this opportunity.
Yes, sir, and thank you for your remarks. We appreciate it. All right, Mr. Wells, what would you like to say to us?
This has been my third time sitting here, and I'm scared for my life. It bothers me for the bad decisions that I made, and I work hard to be a better person. I teach young men to think better, to be better, and try to motivate them. Don't try to go down, most of them got life sentencing. I don't have a life sentence, but they do. But they kind of cater to me because of the way I am towards it. It's hard for me. And I know that if I commit any type of offense or charge or anything, this is where I live at for the rest of my life. I want to say thanks to the committee for awarding me another opportunity, to the staff here for trusting in me. I want to apologize to the parents of St. Tammany for my census acts. I am extremely remorseful for the harm that I caused Deputy Braxton and his family, my community and family. Thank you.
You, sir. All right, I think we're prepared to vote. Mr. Barrow will be voting first.
Can I ask one executive session?
We have a motion for executive session. We have a second.
Second.
Could you call the roll, please?
Chair Renata.
Yes.
Daniel Barrow.
Yes.
Pete Freeman.
Yes.
Carolyn Stapleton.
Yes.
Sophie Zilch.
Yes.
So we have a unanimous vote for executive session, Mr. Wells, to discuss confidential matters. So stand by. We'll be back shortly. Right, we are back in regular session. It's 10:41. And Mr. Wells, we are prepared to vote. Mr. Barra will be voting first.
Mr. Wells, based on your behavior since the last hearing, you're completing all of those cases, thinking for a change, victim awareness, victim impact, crime victim rights, victim accountability, and parole mock hearing. I'm gonna vote today to grant you parole.
All right, Mr. Tillis,
I concur with Mr. Barr.
Mrs. Stapleton,
I concur with Mr. Barra.
Mr. Freeman.
Okay, I do too. You have a great institutional record, but like you said, one more time, your life's gonna be spent right there with Warden Barlow. And I can guarantee it, you're gonna be a fifth offender. I'm also gonna ask you to go to, AA meetings. And, if you think you need more help than that, let your probation officer know, because once you get a felony, you're gonna be done. But I'm gonna give you an opportunity today too. I also vote to grant. For 3 AA a week.
Okay, Mr. Wells, I do take note that this is your third appearance before the parole board. And at your last denial, you did everything that was asked of you program-wise. You do some community service work with inside the prison. You're a trustee. You haven't had a write-up. You've only had 6 in 15 years, and your last was in 2018. So based on the work that you've done, my vote today also is to grant, and I will add the special condition that you do the community service work that your brother spoke of, working with the at-risk youth, and you're going to do 8 hours a month. Hopefully you'll be able to do more, but we're going to require that you do 8 hours per month. We want you to report to your parole officer weekly for the first 6 weeks. Okay, get to know your parole officer so you can have a good relationship with them. So it's 8 hours of community service work, the 3 AA meetings a week, and report weekly for the first 6 weeks. Yeah, I was going to add maintain full-time employment, but your uncle has said he's going to do that for you. So good luck to you, sir. You've been granted parole. All right, Warden Bordelon, that concludes our business. We're going to sign off at 10:43. Thanks for helping us out today.
Oh, they may do it. Okay, there you go.
All right, let me see.
Can you hear us?
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear us?
Look, we can hear y'all. If y'all please keep your comments to a minimum while we prepare for this hearing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, still, good morning. The Committee on Parole is reconvening. We are now at Louisiana State Penitentiary. I don't see LSP on this. There they are. Okay. Good morning. Would the folks at Angola please introduce yourselves and Warden, and then ask your staff to do so as well?
Warden Rochelle Ambo.
Reginald Admiral, classification.
Orange Shipley, Offender Records. Jody Sargent, Program Consultant.
And everybody?
Yes,
Okay. And we have Mr. DUPUY. Is that you? Would you introduce yourself? Tell us your name and DOC number.
You need to tell them your name and DOC number.
My name's Anthony DUPUY. My number is 078540.
Yep, I got that. And it's my understanding, Counsel, would you introduce yourself?
I can't understand that she says.
That's okay. I'm gonna let them know.
Okay.
Good morning, Board. Adrienne Hutchison, attorney for Louisiana Parole Project here, representing Mr. DUPUY. And as the board can tell, Mr. DUPUY is hard of hearing, so I will most likely have to relay the questions to him for him to respond.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, the record did indicate I was concerned if he was able to do that. So thank you for helping us with that. Let me, I'm going to, for the folks who are here, I'm going to introduce the panel. My name is Cheryl Renassa, serving as chairman today. We do have a 5-member panel. Seated to my far left is Mr. Chucky Tillis. To my immediate left, Ms. Carolyn Stapleton. My immediate right, Mr. Pete Freeman. And to his right is Mr. Danny Barra. So we are the parole panel this morning. I want to recognize the folks who are joining us today. Here with us in the hearing room, we do have law students from both LSU and Southern University Law School, Access to Justice Fellowship Program here observing the proceedings today. We have in support today, we have the Parole Project, Mr. Hunley, Mr. DUPUY's granddaughter, Chelsea Alwell, his daughter, Dawn Jordan, all who will be speaking in support. Also here at headquarters, I think we have Mr. Johnny Dixon, a friend, Mr. DUPUY's niece, Charlene Baker, and Pat Moore, a friend. In opposition today, and Ms. Blaker and Lore are there at Angola. Is that correct?
Yes.
Right. And here in support, Amy DUPUY, the victim's niece. I'm sorry, in opposition, I apologize. Kent Norman, in opposition, victim's brother. Michelle Gagnard, who is with Aaron Ducote in the Falls District Attorney's Office, the victim's niece. And Timothy Norman, the victim's son. The victim representatives, let's see, Mr. Norman, Ms. Gagnard, and Ms. Amy DUPUY will all be speaking in support. So first, Ms. Hutchinson, I'll read the identifying information into the record as you or Mr. DUPUY to verify that. The case has been assigned to me. I'll take the lead on the interview. So I'll start the interview questions. Then we'll hear from the folks who are here in support. We'll hear from the victims who indicated they'd like to speak. Then we'll hear if Mr. DUPUY has a statement, and for Ms. Hutchinson's closeout. Then we have the district attorney, Mr. Charles Riddle from Wells Parish, who will close out the hearing for us with his remarks. So Mr. DUPUY is classified as a first felony offender, currently serving a life sentence. He has a sentencing date, November 19, 1974, for a second-degree murder. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am, that's correct. They just read into your sentencing, okay?
And he's serving a consecutive sentence to a previous conviction for manslaughter. So this life sentence began after he completed that sentence. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So I would like for Mr. DUPUY to give us an account of what happened in both of those cases. First, we'd like to hear about the manslaughter case.
Okay. They want to talk, they need you to make an account of what happened with the manslaughter case. So Mr. McNeil.
Okay. Now?
Yes, and they can
Okay.
hear you. You can just.
Yeah, I'm not sure what took place on the manslaughter. They found me guilty of manslaughter. But I forgot exactly what happened. I'm not sure what happened. But whatever it is, I take responsibility for it. I'm sorry this happened. It's really not me. If I could undo it, I would.
And,
I'm sorry.
okay, as Ms. Hutchinson said, the victim in that matter was Adrian McNeil, and that occurred in June of 1972, I believe.
So they're saying the victim was Mr. McNeil, and that was June of 1972, correct?
Yes, ma'am. It was a cold case.
Okay. And maybe the DA can help us out there at the appropriate time. So for the current conviction, with the current sentence that he's serving time for second-degree murder, we'd like to know about that. What happened there?
They need you to explain what happened on the second-degree murder, Mr. Norman.
Okay. My wife and I were separated. She left home and left our 18-month daughter next door with my brother, because they used to babysit for me while I was working. She left, and I went out that night. I left my daughter next door with my brother. I went out and I started drinking, and I got drunk. I left the bar. I went to my house. My mom had left that day. She left some food on the stove for me. And I was heating it up, and somebody pulled up in my driveway. I didn't know who it was. And it was Larry Norman, a friend of mine. He was dating my wife then. They were going out, and he knocked on the door. He banged on the door. He mostly left his way in. We had a big argument. It got really heated. We started screaming at one another. I had a gun on the bar when I got home, next to the telephone. And I told him if he didn't leave, something was going to happen. He ran for the gun. He grabbed the gun. We fell to the floor. I was on his back. He had his hands on the gun. I had my hands on it, and it went off. He fell dead. I went in the bathroom, got a towel, tried to revive him, but he was gone. I left there and went and got a friend of mine to come help me to get rid of him. And he left with him. I don't know where he went with it, because I didn't go. I cleaned the kitchen a little bit, because I knew Mama was coming that morning. And that was about it. He left a note behind. If I get killed, it's Anthony DUPUY who did it. They found the note during the investigation. They held the note out of my hands. I didn't know nothing about it till the day of the trial. And they tried to make me plead on a lesser charge. I wouldn't do it, because it happened in my house. I did wrong getting rid of the body. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the families. I heard for them. I know what they're going through. I lost my grandson to violence. He just got out of the military, and his girlfriend killed him. So I know what you're going through. Believe me, I've been going through this my 50 years here. It hurts.
Yeah, let's get to that, Mr. Dupe. Let's talk about it. So you've been incarcerated for 50 years. Is that Is that accurate?
She said, is it accurate that you've been incarcerated for 50 years?
I think it's 50 or close to it.
And what's your current age?
How old are you?
I'm 79.
I do want to say, obviously, there's opposition in the record, and we'll hear from some of those who are opposed today. I want to just talk a little bit about how Mr. Dupuy has spent the last 50 years. I do notice that he does score out as a low risk on the risk assessment tool that the DOC prepares for us. He has only 9 write-ups in 50 years. The last one, I think, was over 30 years ago. Is that right?
Yes.
He doesn't have a lot of programs, educational programs, but I do notice he was given some credit for his carpenter skills, 410 credits of carpentry skills. And I believe that's probably why he doesn't have a lot of programs, because the institution utilized that skill set. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So the only program I show is victim awareness. Are there others?
Yes, ma'am. He's currently enrolled in victim awareness as of January 24th. And he's also enrolled in anger management, and he completed 100-hour pre-release.
Okay, thank you. And those are all recent programs, right?
The 100-hour pre-release was completed in 2017, Chairman.
Okay, great. I do want to make note too of the various community service work projects that Mr. Dupuy has been involved in, which are included in the record. Ms. Hutchinson provided some great detail on that. Just a tremendous amount of community service work that he's done for the past, probably 30 years.
Yes, they're talking about your community service that you've done.
Okay, what about it?
That you did a lot in 30 years.
What I did?
Yeah, that you've done a lot in your
Yes,
service.
ma'am. When I came to prison, I worked 7 days a week, not because I had to, it's because I wanted to stay busy. I built homes, I built the museum, I built the hearse, the wood horse-drawn hearse, the rodeo wagon. I volunteered for everything. I helped raise money for the children.
Were you involved with the toy shop?
In the toy shop?
Yes, ma'am. I helped build the toy shop. We make 10,000 toys a year donated to them, and bicycles that's refurbished. I like my job. I'm the best at it.
Well, I will say I know your work, so I do think you're very good at it.
She said she remembers your work. You were very good at it.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Mr. Dupuy, do you currently have a job now? What do you do now?
Do you currently have a job?
No, ma'am. When I had my heart surgery and then went through them kidney stones and all that, I lost 60 pounds. They let me gain my weight back. I'm picking it up. I'm 150 and I'm doing better, but I'm not working.
So you're focused on your health right now?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. All right. We'll hear from the opposition shortly. Warden Ambo, is there anything you would like for us to know?
Everything that Anthony told you is correct, and only thing I wanted to put in there that he did try to take his GED, but because of his health, he missed 2 tests on 2 different occasions. But I think that his other work speaks for him, and I don't think he really don't need the GED. I don't think he's functional to take it anyway right now because of his hearing.
Thank
But
you.
everything else is good.
Questions? Questions?
I've got one. It's not a question. It's I know that you're an older man now, but you couldn't remember the details of the first murder. And according to the record, the details was that Adrian McNeil was tied up and thrown off a bridge and he drowned. Do you remember that? And it was done with you had a friend named Borderline. The two of y'all were involved in it. Do you remember that one?
She's asking if you remember the details of Mr. McNeil's death. The record shows that he was tied up and he drowned. And you did with Mr. Bertalone.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do you remember it?
No, ma'am. I don't remember much of it. But I
Okay.
do, the evidence they had was in my favor.
Oh,
They had two investigations going on, one in the Vols Parish where Mr. McNeil was hung, and one in St. Landry Parish where the body was found. My co-defendant testified against me. He said that I stopped and I cut some rope and I tied Mr. McNeil up and I put a weight on him and I threw him over the bridge in Simpsport.
that's right.
At court, the hearing, the evidence he had, there was no cut up rope. There was one long rope and there was no weight tied to him. I was not there. I don't know the details of what happened after that.
All right. Okay, and then let's get to, I want to ask you about Mr. Normand. Now, do you remember the details of that? Because in the record, it says that he was shot in the head and then, well, of course, Mr. Borderline was involved in that one too. And he says that you made him help dispose of the body. Do you remember any of the details of that? Or that's blank also?
She's asking if you remember the details of Mr. Norman. She said that the record shows he was shot in the head and that Mr. Borderline assisted with that one.
Yes, ma'am. He came and got the body in his car and left with it.
All right, that's the end of my questions.
All right, thank you. Will, Mr. Dupuy, did you have a substance abuse problem?
She wants to know, did you have a substance abuse problem at that time, like
No, ma'am.
drinking or drugs?
No, ma'am. I never had anything like that, even to this day. I never used drugs in my system in my life. I drank a beer now and then. I was not a drunk. I have no hang-ups. I don't even drink Cokes to this day.
Okay, thank you, sir. We'll go ahead and listen now to the support. First, we'd like to hear from the Parole Project, Mr. Hundley.
Andrew Hundley with Louisiana Parole Project, appearing before the board today to let the board know that if Mr. Dupuy is granted parole, our organization stands ready to support him with his long-term reentry. That includes programming related to ensure that he has the tools he needs to be successful. Obviously, Mr. Dupuy will be a little different from most of our clients based on his age, his current cognitive state, and his health issues. He's going to need long-term health care. Obviously, you may be aware in the record of his family's ability to assist him with those healthcare needs. I'll let them speak for themselves. But based on the amount of time that he served and his disciplinary record while incarcerated, our organization feels very comfortable with helping him during his transition, if that's what the board grants, and to working with his family to ensure that his long-term needs are met. And I stand ready to answer any questions you may have about his reentry. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have Dawn Jordan who's here. Step up to the podium. We'd like to hear from you, please.
Good morning. So my name is Dawn Dupuy Jordan. I'm the daughter of Buford Anthony Dupuy. On behalf of our family, we would like to first thank God for this day. It's one we've anticipated for almost 50 years. Today I stand before you not only as a daughter of the man whose fate lies in your hands, but also as a testament to the power of redemption and change. My father, Buford Anthony Dupuy, is more than a prisoner. He's a man that shows force, reflection, and genuine commitment to rehabilitation during time of prison. My father deeply understands the severity of his actions and the impact they had on the victim's family, and our family. He carries the weight of mistakes every day, and his desire for redemption is sincere and profound. As his daughter, I have witnessed his remorse and regret and the unwavering commitment to make amends for the wrongs he has committed. My father was incarcerated at age 28. I was less than 2 years old. He is now 79. He's not the same person he was 50 years. Throughout his incarceration, my father has actively participated in self-improvement and rehabilitation. He has been a mentor to other inmates by providing guidance and teaching carpentry skills. He has also done many building projects that benefited the prison. These changes are also evident in the fact that he hasn't had any write-ups in over 31 years and very few during his incarceration. He has shown unwavering determination to transform his life, and I know he will contribute positively to society. My vision is for my father to be granted parole, come live with me, where he will have a permanent, stable residence. I am a nurse. My daughters are nurses. I can get the help that he needs, and I will take care of my father. My family is well established in our community. I built my home 25 years ago in Grant Parish, Louisiana. We are working with the Louisiana Parole Project to guarantee the smooth transition into society and to provide continued support of granted parole. I will take full responsibility of paying all probation and parole fees. I've spoke to the probation and parole officers. I know exactly what they expect, and I'm willing to go above and beyond to take care of those fees. I have spoken to the sheriff of Grant Parish. He's a personal friend of mine, Sheriff Stephen McCain. He wrote a letter to the board. He has given my father the opportunity to become a mentor at the Grant Parish Detention Center. Will be a mentor at his facility. I think my dad wants to give back to the community, tell the story, and help change the lives of others. Granting my father parole is not merely an act of mercy, it's acknowledgement of his humanity, potential for change, and his capacity to contribute positively to society. I truly believe every individual deserves a second chance. I ask you to consider not only the seriousness of his past actions, but also the depth of remorse, the sincerity of his transformation, the potential for him to lead a meaningful life, a law-abiding life. I respectfully request the parole board members to please give my father parole. I want to personally thank you all for your time, your effort, and your dedication.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your remarks. And we have Chelsea Alwell, who's.
Yes, ma'am. This is Chelsea Alwell. I'm the grandfather of Anthony Dupuy. I'm here today to support his release. I'm 34 years old. I've been visiting my grandfather since I was born. I have great memories with my grandfather growing up at the Angola rodeos. He has made a very positive impact in my life and also my family's life. We have a great relationship. He's always supported me and my family. We would all be grateful to have him home to spend the remainder of his life with him. I do feel that my grandfather has acknowledged his mistakes and he has always been remorseful. He has expressed great sadness and guilt over the years. I have personally witnessed his growth and rehabilitation. I believe he has the ability to successfully reintegrate into society and lead a law-abiding life if he is granted parole. My family are being proactive, and I are being proactive at his, as his support team to assist in any possible way to make the transition as smooth as possible. I will support him if he is released from prison by being there by his side with any assistance, needs, or desires. Spend time with him, provide emotional support, assist with transportation and any medical needs. I know his medical condition, has declined. He's had heart problems, kidney stones. I am a registered nurse and I will be there to assist with anything that I can. He has been given the opportunity by our sheriff here, Stephen Kane, to become a mentor at the Grant Parish Detention Center. And he has expressed dedication and determination to, give back to the community in any way possible that he can. I do understand that y'all, as the parole board, y'all have difficult responsibilities in evaluating each case thoroughly and making decisions that impacts the lives of others. Please consider my words as I stand before you today. I plead for my grandfather's release. I ask that you see beyond the mistakes of the past and recognize the person he has become today. A person committed to growth, redemption, and contributing positively to society. Please consider the progress he has made, the support that he has in place today. I ask for your compassion and mercy in granting him this chance for redemption. I want to end this by saying thank you for this opportunity and your consideration.
Well, thank you, and thank you. You're obviously at work, so thank you for taking the time to speak with us this. We appreciate it.
Absolutely, thank you.
Okay, so at this time, we'll ask for Mr. Dupuy's remarks, and then we'll ask Ms. Hutchinson for her presentation. Mr. Dupuy?
They're asking for your closing remarks.
Okay. I want to say thank you for this hearing and for giving me a chance at this. I know this is not an easy decision to make when it comes to declining whether or not you're going to be let a free man that's been in prison for 50 years back into society. I'd like you to take into consideration that I'm not the same person. I regret the crime I committed. I'm very remorseful for that I've done. I spent 50 years of my life in prison. I wish I would have taken the time to think before acting. I regret the hurt and pain that I caused you, that I caused the victims and my families and their family. I like the board to know that I've learned from my mistakes in the past. I accept full responsibility for something at a young age. I made a bad decision that cost me, cost you, and cost us your life. I made a bad choice. I regret the hurt I did everyone. I apologize for that. I'd like to take into consideration, even though you don't personally know me, I'd like you to look at my prison record, my history here in prison. I have few write-ups, no write-ups in 31 years. Look at how I've helped others and their struggle and given them knowledge, teaching them trades, getting to know them personally, and being a mentor to many. We try to help each other in here. That's what life's about, and doing the best you can with what you've got, with what you've given. I'd like you to know that I'm not the same person that I was 50 years ago. I was 28 years old when I committed these crimes. I have positive changes. I'd like you to know I have health problems. I have heart surgery and severe internal issues. I'd like the board to take into consideration plans I live with my family that are very supportive of me. I won't be back here. I have a plan to continue helping others and to participate in prison if I'm released. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity you have given me today. I am sorry for everything. I wish I could change it. It hurts to this day. Every day. It hurts. And I'm sorry. I can't change it. Please find a way to forgive me in your heart.
Thank you, Mr. Dupuy. Ms. Hutchinson?
Thank you for speaking with us today and your time and patience with Mr. Dupuy. We know hearings with our older men often have different challenges. So thank you, board, for that. I want to make it clear that Tony isn't here today to argue any facts of the crime or to discredit the hurt and the pain the crimes have caused. I think it's evident that Mr. Dupuy wholeheartedly regrets his actions and is truly remorseful for the pain he caused. And at 78 years old, I asked, or 79,
79.
I asked the board that if Mr. Dupuy's details were foggy and at times all over the place, to blame it on his mind, not his heart. He's had, several bouts with medical issues, and he's 79 years old. But just as Mr. Dupuy has just become overcome with emotions today, this has been his sentiment the entire time we've worked together. I believe that it's clear from Mr. Dupuy's that he recognized his life had spiraled too far, and that he did not want his time in prison to be reflective of his past and the person he was that caused him to come to prison. We know this because Mr. Dupuy comes before the board with an impeccable disciplinary record, with only 9 write-ups in almost 50 years, and the last one over 30 years ago. We know this from his extensive volunteer work, because as long as Mr. Dupuy was healthy and able to work, he did, working his regular prison job and volunteering 7 days a week for various volunteer jobs. And while my brief discusses many of his various contributions to Louisiana State Penitentiary, neither Mr. Dupuy nor the many people here who he has worked with have been able to keep track and account for all the various projects that he's done. And I won't go through those because Ms. Renata did read them into the record already. But I wanted to recognize that with each job was an extreme level of trust. He's been trusted for most of these volunteer assignments to live at various work sites on the compound with low supervision or venture out past the prison walls to accomplish these goals. Mr. Dupuy established a record of trust and accountability, showing that he would not pose a threat to public safety if he was to return to society. He has a low Tiger score, which indicates he's a low risk of recidivism. One of the main factors attributing to this is Mr. Dupuy's age. At 79 years old, he's past the age where continued criminal activity is statistically likely. It's at almost a 0. Furthermore, Mr. Dupuy has substantial health concerns, having already had quadruple bypass surgery in 2017, multiple bouts with kidney stones, and ongoing treatment for proctitis. And of course, his hearing loss and other ailments that come with advanced age. As my brief discussed, continuing to imprison Mr. Dupuy, an elderly, low-risk aging offender with considerable medical issues, who is no longer a threat to society, will cost the state over $90,000 annually. Mr. Dupuy embodies what parole is about: remorse, rehabilitation, maturity, and accountability, and a release that poses no threat to the community. Even when his original sentence of life with the possibility of parole after 20 years was taken away through legislation, he stayed the course, being a better man, continuing to help and serve. And when the parole was reinstated through legislation, and now he needed to complete 40 years before his parole eligibility, he again just worked, volunteered, and continued to help others until his age and helped slow them down. Mr. Dupree's reentry plan is solid. He has the full support of the Louisiana Parole Project. He has a home with his daughter and granddaughter, who are both nurses, available to help maintain his healthcare needs. He won't be returning to Vols Parish, but rather going to the community where his daughter has close ties, where the sheriff has welcomed him to come speak at his detention center, where he believes Mr. Tony's story would provide a positive impact to deter those headed down the wrong path. In closing, and in consideration of Mr. Dupree's remorse, rehabilitation, age, his continued health issues, his extensive volunteer work and service to others, his impeccable institutional record, and looking at the 79-year-old man he is today after almost 50 years of incarceration, we respectfully ask you give Mr. Dupree a second chance with any restrictions this board feels necessary. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We appreciate that presentation. So at this time, we'll hear from the opposition. First, we have with us here, Mr. Norman.
Hi, my name is Michelle Norman Gaia. I'm going to be
Hear from
speaking.
Timothy first. I'm sorry. We're going to hear from Timothy first. He's here with us in Baton Rouge. Go ahead, sir.
I'm going to speak today.
Speak up a little bit.
My father was taken from me when I was 8 years old, and have lived for the last 50 years. And I've been able to have the opportunity to spend my childhood growing up without my dad. And now as an adult, I can see my father again because of the cool blood killer that killed my father. But yet there was no accident. And I would rather you deny this chance of this guy ever getting out of prison with you.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for being here today. And now let's see, we have, do we have Amy Dupuy?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Good morning. My name is Amy Norman Dupuy, no relation to the Dupuy family here. I am the niece of Larry Norman. My father, Emil Norman Jr., was the oldest Norman sibling. He passed away in 2003, and I'm here today speaking on his behalf. I was only 6 years old when my Uncle Larry was murdered. I don't remember him very well, and I don't remember a great deal around the time he was murdered, but I do remember the devastating effect it had on my father, his siblings, my grandmother, and the entire Norman family. As the eldest of 7 children, my father had to identify my uncle's body when it was found. My grandmother couldn't do it, and my grandfather had passed away many years before. Identifying his brother's body disturbed my father for a very long time. I remember overhearing my parents talking about my uncle being shot execution style. At 6 years old, I didn't really know what that meant or why there was a hole in his cheek. I later learned what it meant and that the hole in his cheek was the exit wound from being shot in the back of the head. My daddy and his siblings were always very close, even through adulthood, and the murder of their brother changed their family and their lives forever. Larry was a musician like my father, and I remember him and my grandmother listening to Larry's music and crying. My uncle was murdered at the age of 31 over a woman, shot in the back of the head, and then dumped like trash. It was not an impulsive crime of passion, as Anthony Dupuy had also murdered my best friend's father, Adrian McNeil, for a different reason prior to killing my uncle. On behalf of my father and the Norman family, I respectfully ask that you deny parole. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing those remarks with us. Ms. Gagnard?
Morning. My name is Michelle Norman Gaia. I am the daughter of Kent Norman. I will be speaking on his behalf today. He is the last living surviving sibling of Mr. Larry Norman. We are requesting that Mr. Dupuy remain in the Louisiana State Penitentiary for the duration of his sentence, life in prison, for the brutal death of Larry. Myself, the extended family members, friends, and the community would appreciate this decision to allow them to feel safe and secure. Larry was the 6th and my father was the 7th of the children in their family. Because of their age and gender, they were very close. Larry did not deserve the actions Mr. Dupuy took against him. He had a lot of good years left to live and memories to make with his family. The family missed him terribly. Larry was an outstanding musician, playing instruments and singing in his own band, Larry and the Diamonds. He enjoyed entertaining large crowds that he attracted with both English and French songs. Quite often when Larry played, Mr. Dupuy would come and stand in front of the bandstand, staring him down, trying to intimidate him. Mr. Dupuy believed that Larry was dating his estranged wife. On July 2nd, 1974, Mr. Dupuy came to Larry's house and a fight between them occurred. Mr. Dupuy kidnapped him and brought him back to his home, where he leaned him over a bathtub and shot him in the back of the head with a 9mm pistol. Mr. Dupuy's friend, Mr. Jesse Bordelon, assisted in loading him up and was to take his body to dump in the river. Mr. Bordelon instead dumped Larry's body down a local back road known for dumping trash, where he was found 2 days later by a young boy. The day he was found was July 4th, and to this day, my father is unable to celebrate this holiday as other people can because of this extreme tragedy. A note, as it has been said, was found at Larry's house that if I am killed, Anthony Dupuy is the one who did it. Again, we are asking on behalf of Larry's family that Mr. Dupuy remain incarcerated and pay for the trauma he has caused so many people. Thank you for hearing us.
And thank you for speaking with us this morning. And now we have the district attorney, Mr. Riddle.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chairman, and to members of the board. I appreciate the opportunity. Hopefully, y'all received the email enclosing the letter that was written by Eddie Noe, who was the prosecutor at the time for both cases, the previous one and the one that we're here for today. Without Jesse Bordelon, neither of these cases would have been solved. Jesse Bordelon was a key witness in the case. And I did send a copy of the letter that Eddie Noe had written, a 2-page letter, November 22nd, 1977, where he stated the facts of both cases and what actually happened. Now, I know that Mr. Dupuy has said that he has no memory of the first homicide, and I believe his facts of the second one are contrary to the testimony at the trial. And I want to read just a portion of the testimony. When Sheriff Didier, who was the sheriff at the time, was interrogating Mr. Dupuy, he asked him why did he want to give a statement. And the response, and this is on page 3 of the original transcript, he said he just wanted to get it off his consciousness. And on the next page asked about, why, and he said, well, he had been reading the Bible and he had read approximately 50 pages and he decided he wanted to tell his story. Then when describing the incident, he said he took the body, meaning Mr. Dupuy, took the body, put it in the back seat of his Volkswagen, drove to Bayou de Lac, which is a bayou in a Balls Parish, on Luke Martin Road, and threw the body over the side of the bridge. Yes, he had Jesse with him, but he did it. All right, did he tell you, the question by Mr. Noe, did he tell you what he did after he had thrown the body over the bridge of Bayou de Lac? Yes, this is the sheriff. I asked him, I said, what did you do with the towel? Because after he had shot after he shot Mr. Norman, he wrapped the towel around his head. And the sheriff asked him, what did you do with the towel? He said, I threw the towel in with the body. That's a direct quote from the sheriff interrogating Mr. Dupuy as soon as they found the body. Then he said he got in the back of the car, this is the sheriff continuing, and he came back up the Luke Martin Road until he came to the Bunkie-Hessman intersection. Then he made a right turn and he went again to Bayou de Lac and he threw the pistol in Bayou de Lac. There's several interesting things about this. Number one, in both homicides, the body was concealed so that it would not be found. Secondly, these two people who were victims of the homicide were social friends with Mr. Dupuy. Yet he felt it necessary for him to hide both bodies, conceal it from the family, and cause this tragic situation. There's a big difference between forgiveness in a biblical sense and setting somebody free. The families can forgive, but it doesn't mean they want him free. We're asking that he continue to remain in custody. His testimony today is unbelievable that he doesn't remember the first one, and the second one is contrary to the testimony at the trial. I ask, as the district attorney of Falls Parish now, that he be denied parole.
Yes, sir. Thank you. We appreciate your participation today.
Thank you.
Is the panel prepared to vote? Mr. Tillis?
Yes. Oh,
Yeah, we're voting now.
I vote to deny.
Mrs. Stapleton?
I vote to deny also based upon the violent nature of the crime.
And Mr. Freeman?
I vote to deny because he was involved in 2 different killings, law enforcement and victim opposition, and a very selective member.
Mr. Byron?
Vote for the same reasons stated by Mr. Pete Freeman.
All right,
To deny.
Mr. Dupree, you've received 4 votes to deny your petition for parole today. As you know, it requires a unanimous vote, so the outcome of today's proceeding is that your parole is denied. Ms. Hutchinson, will you explain that to him?
Yes, ma'am.
Warden, that concludes our business at
Voted to
10,
deny.
adjourned, it's 11:43.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and the parole board.
Thank you, Mr. Riddle.
They denied me.
Yes.